Pandemics. How do they end and who does it end for? Perhaps there is one other question here. Who decides that a pandemic has actually ended? Experts say there are two ways in which pandemics usually end. Medical, when the number of cases and death rates fall sharply, and social, when the fear of the pandemic or the disease itself dies. So, what usually comes first? Nobody knows. It's a bit of a chicken and an egg situation. Let's consider two words: fear and exhaustion. As long as there is a fear of the disease or the pandemic, even if the medical threat of the disease is lessened, socially, the pandemic will continue to exist. For example, Ebola. Between 2014 and 2016, West Africa was in the grips of the disease. But the fear of the disease existed even where the disease itself did not. Experts have warned that fighting fear and ignorance is as important as fighting the virus itself, with factors like race, class, privilege, and language playing a huge role. Let's start with the bubonic plague or Black Death, the medieval pandemic that began in China and has struck several times over the last 2,000 years, killing millions. The last bubonic plague struck in the 19th century, and then it just ended, faded away. Nobody knows exactly why, but experts cite reasons ranging from cold weather, change in the bacteria, to change in carrier rats. Smallpox, the only disease that has actually been completely eradicated, and it had several factors working in its favor. An effective one-time vaccine was developed, no animal host, so the disease only needed to be eliminated in humans, and unusual symptoms which made contact tracing and quarantining a lot easier. But while it lasted for almost 3,000 years, it was one of the most horrific and painful diseases, killing 3 out of 10 victims. The last major pandemic. The Spanish flu outbreak of 1918 is estimated to have killed anywhere between 50 to 100 million people worldwide, and India was one of the worst hit. It ended eventually when it took the more benign form of the common flu. So how will COVID-19 end? Globally, hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives to COVID-19 so far. Millions have tested positive. But despite these staggering numbers, chances are, and many experts agree, that COVID-19 could end socially before we get a medical solution vis-a-vis a vaccine or a medicine. There's a growing frustration and exhaustion against the lockdown globally, and the economic havoc caused by it may eventually end up trumping the fear of the disease itself. What is certain, though, is that there is not going to be one big full stop. The World Health Organization is now saying that the virus may never actually go away. And like with all other endemic viruses, we may just have to make our peace with COVID-19, even if a medical solution does eventually present itself. But while the virus may end up staying for a long time, like all pandemics, this one too will end. We may just have to live in a reimagined world with new protocols and a completely new altered reality.